Hello and welcome to VR Vertigo. Behind me, you'll see a game. That game is called the Hunt Showdown. And this is a VR channel. And the Hunt Showdown isn't in VR. So let me just give you a quick rundown. Hunt Showdown 1896 is primarily a multiplayer PvPvE game where you hunt bosses and fight other players. You can play it solo in the main bounty hunt mode, against duos, trios, or in the dedicated solo quick play mode. Lovely! I've always been a bit fascinated by the Hunt Showdown. Its deep south visual aesthetic, its antique weaponry. It speaks of older, darker times, with the sound of banjos and harmonicas being played in hot, sweaty swamps, where the cottonmouths lay in wait, ready to finish you off. There's mud, disease, and dirt everywhere, and you, as the player, have to navigate this. But not only have to navigate these rather hostile environments, but there are other players. And they're up for blood. Specifically, your blood. VR needs all the help it can get. I keep saying that. And even when VR is a thing, it will still need all the help it can get, primarily because VR is something that's worth persevering with. It's worth championing. And the better VR becomes, the better for everyone who plays VR. In this instance, Showdown the Hunt represents an opportunity to introduce a multiplayer game into VR. A great AAA experience, I think it's AAA, that's needed by the genre. I go on all the time about how I think The Division 2 would be a great fit for VR, and I think that's true. It would be. The game is a masterpiece. And when it comes to VR, because you're in the game, because you inhabit the game, the visuals are everything. We've often heard stories about how difficult it is to develop for the PSVR 2. And I've said unapologetically, if it's worth having, it's worth the extra work. For me, the Hunt Showdown is a VR no-brainer. The visual aesthetic, the lighting, the sound effects upon which it relies heavily are all VR staples. For me, VR ups the ante. When you're in the game, you inhabit the game. You're not just playing it, you're living it. And surely for a developer who's spent countless hours developing a piece of art like this, that has to be a strong proposition. And that artistry needs to be honoured. And what VR can give a game is to honour that artistry in a way that was previously unrecognised. I do wonder to myself whether during development meetings for the Hunt Showdown anyone ever said, "Do you know what, this would be a great VR game." But it would. The Hunt Showdown doesn't suffer from much of what other games suffer from in terms of its relevance. The developers carved out a visual style and a story for it, which means it sits outside of relevance in many ways. It is its own thing. It's full of legend. It's full of fable. It's full of fantasy. It's full of horror. It's full of fun. The gameplay behind me will give you an indication of what you can expect. And for me, the game is a love letter to westerns, to horror, and to the esoteric movies that so many of us have loved over the years. And it seems to me that a continued redevelopment for VR, for the VR market, could only help the game. I think the game developer CRYTEK could do a lot worse than consider this. To potentially, after having years on the flat screen market, increase your customer base, who knows where it might lead. If the game garners great success on VR, what can we expect from CRYTEK? It has a great deal of games which, in my opinion, would also benefit from the VR treatment. VR is gathering speed. It's starting to build up ahead of steam, which I think many people are beginning to take notice of. It's slightly frustrating, however, that developers like CRYTEK, Rockstar Games, Ubisoft, and many, many others are making no statements. But you'd have to think to yourself, with VR becoming what it's becoming, they must be looking into it, mustn't they? Do let me know what you think in the comments below. Do like, subscribe, and share. It would help the channel, keep it relevant for the algorithm. And until next time, bye-bye.